Alright, welcome to episode 7 and the final episode of customizing the FPS template in Roblox. Today we're going to be making a shotgun, and it's going to be mostly animations. Warning though, I am not the best at animations. I'm just going to be covering the basics, and that's about it. But I will show you how to make an animation and then implement that animation in the template and then have your own shotgun essentially. Now you will already see that I have a view model, and I would suggest you create your own custom view model. If you don't know how, refer back to my previous videos on how to make a custom view model, um, and make your own view model from there. Now, for a shotgun, because there is multiple parts, um, a shotgun's very mechanical, meaning when you shoot and then you have to reload the ammo, you have to pump, um, or when you reload, you have to disengage the pump, and the slide goes back, and then you reload shell individually, and then you engage the bullet manually. Now, so we have to take that into account. So before you make your view model, let's go into this custom view model that I have. And if I go inside the blaster, you will see that I have a couple different parts, a shell and the slide. Now, you could put parts inside any custom view model, but there's a couple things you have to take into account, which is joints. So, inside my body, you will see that I have more joints than, say, the standard blaster that Roblox already has. So, for these parts to be animated, they have to be turned into a joint. And I use a plugin called Edit Rig, and it's very useful tool if I just want to create a joint or weld or reset my joints on the fly. So I'm not gonna say how to use this plugin. It's very simple. I'm sure there's videos on how to use it, but it's as simple as finding like a your uh your start, and then I can just say I can hold this, so I have the body and the shell, and then I can just create a joint, and then it just creates a joint inside the body here. We'll just get rid of this one. Nope. There we go. So yeah, so in order to animate these parts, we have to turn them into joints. So when you make your view model, think about what you want to animate when you want to create custom animations and what you want to include. So that's why I have these joints, because I want to animate the pump, and I want to animate the shell to give visual cues to the player. And that's about it. Um, Yeah, this is gonna be a pretty long episode. But by the end of this episode, you will know how to animate, create your own shotgun, and create future weapons. Um, Create weapons in the future. So that being said, um, yeah, this is gonna be a long one. So there's gonna be a lot of fast forwarding parts, especially when it comes to the animations, because it's not gonna be like cookie cutter. The way you have it in your mind, how the reload animation should be is what you should implement, because you can make it yours. Now, at the end of all this, uh, hopefully I can get this version of everything of the template to be open source, and you'll be able to edit what I have inside the studio and implement it into your game or whatever. Okay, let's jump right in. Enough of talking. Um, so yeah, let's begin animating. Now there's a couple ways of animating. You can import, export the Blender. There's Moon Animator. I think that's a plugin. I heard that's good. Never used it. And then we have the basic animation editor. Now I'm not gonna do anything complicated. Personally, I would use Blender. Um, and because it's a good tool to learn. But yeah, just for the scope of this video and for people to just jump straight in without getting all complicated, we're just gonna be using Animation Editor. So let's click it, and I'm just gonna put this in a window here so I can see everything, and I'm gonna click my rig here, and now we have the shotgun, we have the untitled, the name of the clip, and I'm just gonna call this SG Reload. And I'm going to click this plus sign. I'm going to click uh, all body parts. And now we have all the stuff that can be animated inside this window here. Now, it's a good rule of thumb to have all your keyframes at the starting point for 0, and then we could start animating. Now, I will do this one animation slowly, and then in the other animations, because we're gonna split this up into 3 separate animations. This is gonna be the easiest way to do it. Um, Instead of having just one animation and then having like markers to tell the script to stop here and then um, loop here and then stop, and then it'll just be easier to be like, okay, play this animation, now stop that animation, play this animation, etc., etc. Okay, so when it comes to animating, it's good to have like a think of it like a picture, where a picture is a frozen capture of time. So what I like to do is I'll come down here, the timeline, different point in the timeline, and I want a picture. So what I'm thinking is I want to turn the gun sideways. We'll say 90 degrees, and then I will grab my left arm, right arm. Actually, I already messed up. Let's delete this. Disregard what I just said. We're gonna start at the beginning here. We are gonna get this ready in a starting position, kind of what it looks like in the idle phase, or close enough to. I think that's good. And then we'll grab this arm. Degrees that way. That's pretty good. So we're gonna start right here. Now we're gonna come at the end of the timeline, and now I can grab this body and rotate it to the side 90 degrees, and then I can grab my left, right arm and rotate them. Actually, no, we don't have to. We can just keep it like that. Yeah, that looks good. So this is what I mean, a like a frozen capture of time. So we have this, which is the start of our idle mode here. And then it's going to jump to this. So that's a one frozen capture of time. And then let's see. We'll come down here. And I think I want to we'll copy these and we'll paste them, because I want like an extra quarter of a second um before we start the next portion. And then for our final picture, frozen picture, I'm going to disengage everything. So we'll grab the slide. I think that's the easiest to start. And we want it to be down here. Grab this arm here. We want the arm to be here. And then we'll grab our charging handle, which I have it here. So this will open up. And before I start, because the shell isn't seen just yet, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to go to the shell. And I'm just going to move the shell here. And let's see how it looks there. Okay, so perfect. So now I want the shell to be out. So let's grab this shell. Let's turn it, say 50 degrees. And I want the shell to be kind of out, but kind of in camera view for the player to see. And that's another frozen picture that I have. So we have the start. This is what it's going to start to look. and then it's going to jump to here. That's another frozen picture. And then we have the final frozen picture where the gun is disengaged, the empty shell pops out, and we can begin the second part of the reload animation. Now, before we start the second part, I'm thinking about adding another one, another like still picture, just to make it easier for the second animation to have. And we are going to take the body, and we are going to actually wait. I'm thinking about what I want to do with the shell. We can always fill in the gaps. Okay, so we're going to take the body. This could be the last part, and we're just going to rotate it 180 degrees. Okay, everything's disengaged. And then we're going to grab this arm here. And I want to move it down. And I want to move it out of the camera view. We can actually turn it a little bit. This down. Okay. And then I want to grab this shell because I'm not done with it. And then we're going to rotate it 50 degrees because that's what it was. And then move it back. And then I want to move it in here. And I want to put it inside the arm. So the second part of the animation has a visual cue for the player that a shell is being reloaded. So we're just going to put it inside the arm. Okay, so to recap, we have our first picture, which is the idle mode. And then it jumps to the second picture, which is now it's messed up because we have parts moving. So we're going to have to fix all those, but you get the idea. And then this picture is going to be the actual disengage. And then we have the start of the next animation. So with everything kind of all messed up, we have the start here. And now we just need to kind of fix everything. So let's come here and start fixing everything. Let's get the slide back here. Was it the left arm? Has to be right here. Let's get the shell back in its place. Right there seems good. Make sure it's not clipping anywhere. Decent. Let's get the charging handle in place. All right, so that looks good. Now we can get rid of this one because that one's messed up. But we can grab this one, this fixed one, and we can just paste these keyframes. And then we can fix this one. This one's all messed up now. You know what? Let's just delete it. We deleted the entire thing. Why did that happen? Delete. Copy. Paste. And then we can redo all this. Slide, engage. This arm. Let's see how it all looks. Okay, there we go. Then we grab our shell. $50 and out like so. All right, let's see how that all looks now. All right, so that doesn't look too bad. So we have this, this, this stays the same, then it moves out to here. Now, what we can do, we have these gaps, and we could fill in those gaps um, to make things a little bit more smoother. So obviously, you can see this is the next frame, and you can see the bullet is already out, and that's not um, visually appealing. So we are gonna manually go frame by frame. Okay. It's clipping through, so we're just going to turn it a little bit, bring it back in, then turn it just a little bit. It's only clipping a little bit, but not too bad. So yeah, we're just like filling in the gaps, and this is going to make it look a lot smoother. So we start out with our three main pictures, and then we fill in the gaps of each frame. Let's see. We'll get it to like right here. We could turn it a little bit and then go up. All right, let's see how this all looks now. And we can actually grab all these. Actually, we'll grab this one. We'll make this a faster animation, and then we'll put this here. I want to see the shell. Yep. Actually doesn't look too bad. We give a good visual cue that the shell is coming out, ejecting. Now we can also fill in the gaps even more. We want to keep this gap the same because I just want like the player to have a good visual cue of what the animation is doing. But we can come here now before we start just rotating to one side to make this more lively. We can actually take the body and just rotate it like this, maybe like 65 degrees. So when the start, we rotate the opposite way and then we go into the animation. Let's see how this looks. Seems a little too fast, but we can move it down. Maybe like this. We can grab all these. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm holding my left um, mouse button and I'm just dragging this blue box here just to grab all these animations. And then I can just kind of move them around, big groups of them. Um, this down one. Hmm. Now, what I'm thinking is we are going to I'm gonna grab this one, and I'm gonna add a couple more frames in between. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. Just grabbing that one frame might be too many. So let's drag this, get this a little closer to the group here. Actually, that looks pretty good. And that's a good start to the animation. Now, I'm going to remember this point. Okay, so we got everything disengaged. We got the slide disengaged, the charging handle. We have the body rotated 90 degrees the other way. We have our arm back here. We have the shell inside the arm. Now I'm going to remember this picture in my mind. So when I start the next animation, I could just have the starting point right here. All right, so now what we could do is what we're gonna do is set the animate this part of the animation to core. Okay, that's gonna be pretty important. And then we're gonna publish the Roblox, and then we are just going to save. Now I'm not gonna do anything with this just yet. I just want to move on to the next animation. Now I could just use this animation over and then just delete this, grab this. But just for teaching purposes, I'm just going to create new. Just going to start right at the beginning, add all body parts, and then I'm going to grab my arm here, rotate this 90 degrees, and get it to a good idle position, kind of the way we had it in the first animation. That's why I'm rotating these in degrees. I remembered the degrees. There was like 10 degrees, and then we lined it up. We'll get it as best we can. Just like so. And then we'll grab our body and we'll rotate this 90 degrees. Like so. And then we'll grab our left arm because that was pretty important. And we'll just move this back. We'll go 15 degrees this way. Just trying to line it up where the shell gets placed. What I'll do is get a good lineup. I'll rotate this. Okay, just like so. And then we'll move this back. And then we'll grab our shell, take it out. And I think what I want to do is put it at the top of this corner. like so. And then we'll grab our slide, make sure that's disengaged. Charging handle. And bam. Okay, so now we have the start of our second animation. Now, before I do anything, I totally forgot what we have to do for every animation. We have to add an animation event. So what I'm going to do is just call this shell inject. And what I'll do is just publish to Roblox, save it out, and then I'll load SG reload. Make sure it's the right one. Yep. Okay. So we have to think about our animation event. Now, what I mean by this is that for the sounds to happen inside the script, I'll show the script afterwards. We have to create events. So we have to think about at which point. Now we could add multiple events, but I think just for uh, the scope, because this is gonna be a long video, we'll just have one sound. So we have to think where we want the start of the one sound. And what I'm thinking is, because we gotta give the sound some time, I'm thinking right here before the full eject, thinking like right here. And what we could do is right at this point, we could say add animation event. Now we have to call it random sound, just like so. And then we have to put in a parameter. And our parameter is going to be reload because I'm going to be using for this animation the reload animation. So now I'm going to save, and now we have an animation event. And now I can um, publish the Roblox again, and I'm just going to overwrite existing. Close. And now that's ready to go. And now I'm just going to load my back into my shell eject here. And now we can just begin the animation process again. I almost forgot about animation events. That would have been very bad if we did all these animations and then come to find out we can't put any sounds in them. And then we have to go through each one. Okay, so now we got to think about our pictures again. So I'm going to come down the line here, and I want my shell, and I want my left arm to be lined up. Look at that. Right there. So I'm going to give the player a visual cue that the shell is going in. And then I'm going to come down the line, and I want like an initial push, right? So what I'm going to do is just push it even further in. So we go from here, and then it just pushes further in, just to kind of give the cue that we are pushing in the shell. So let's see how that looks, because this part of the animation is very simple. This is the animation we're gonna have to loop. So it's gonna be pretty important. We can actually move this down the line a little bit. We can slow it down. Yeah, I want to slow or push in, but not that slow. So we'll come down here, make it a little faster. Um, make it a little faster. Actually, that's not too bad. And we could add some in betweens. To kind of we could shake the gun a little bit. Um, we could say we could move the body just a little bit, just a little. We actually should. We'll uncheck these so I can have like a little bit more control, just like that. So we have a little bit of a shake. We could do stuff like that. Actually, that looks pretty lively, so we'll keep it. Let's see what it looks like looped. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, so we'll uncheck this. Make sure it's called shell inject. Now, I'm going to set the animation priority to action. Why we're going to do that is because we want to override our previous animation that we made when we want to override it. So there's a priority for a reason, so that animations can override the other animation. So I'm going to override. I want to be able to override our first initial reload when we want to override it. So now we need to think about, so when do we want the animation event to have the sound? I am thinking somewhere in this region, maybe. So I can have the sound have some time to play. And by the time it reaches here, it'll line up or line up to the best we can. So what I'm thinking is I'll give it more time and we'll just add an animation event here. And we'll call it random sound. Just like so. Make sure it's spelled correctly. And we're going to give this its own special parameter, and I'll show how to implement that. And we're just going to call this inject. And we'll just press save. And now we have an animation event where a sound should play. All right, so now we could save this, make sure, and yep, and publish. And then I think we have to overwrite. Yep, need that. And now we can think about the final form of our animation, which is going to be right here. Okay, so now I'm just going to say create new, and we're going to call this engage SG. Click all our body parts. No, 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 no. Add all. There we go. And I know this is kind of annoying, but delete. Forgot to all these. Just makes it easier. 10%. And we'll just it's all lined up. All right, so we have it pretty set up as close as we can. Um, and this time I'm gonna leave the shell in. Um, what I might do, actually, we are gonna have the starting point of this shell like so, because I want to give a visual cue to the player. Kind of like this. It will come down a little bit, like so. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, so this is going to be the starting point of our frame. And now we're just gonna think about our pictures. We'll make sure. Let's make sure everything's disengaged. It's pretty important. Okay, I think we're ready. So let's think about our picture here. And what I think is, I want to take this arm to start, pull it back, pull it back, and maybe leave it. Just leave it pulling back. And then maybe come down here and take the body and then rotate it back 180 degrees, just the way it was. We gotta fix this left arm that became our right arm. We can just do that now. So rotate maybe like right here, and then we can line it up like this. So the player can see the shell. Maybe we'll put the shell into the view of the camera a little bit more. Hopefully it lines up. Hopefully the player can see it. If not, it's fine. I'm not gonna get crazy. Animations, you can spend a long time to get it like really perfect, but in the scope of this video is probably gonna be like an hour long. In the scope of creating quick animations like this, we're just gonna we're gonna cut a lot of corners. Um, and it's not gonna be perfect, but you'll get the idea. And then we can come down the line a little bit here, and then we'll just have everything engaged. So we need to take this shell, rotate it back, and then put it in. Like so. Make sure it's not clipping. I can't really see with the arm, but actually it's kind of a good thing. And let's see, we'll have the slide engaged. We'll have the left arm like so. And then we'll take our charging handle and engage it. So then it'll look like that. Let's see how that all looks right now. All right, so we have some gaps we need to fix, which is fine. And then at the final point of our frame, we'll grab our body and then rotate this 90 degrees. And then we'll fix our left arm because it's a wild position. That looks good. And we're back to the original idle position. Okay, so now we need to fix our gaps here. And there's going to be a lot to fix, I can see. We might have to delete this one. almost looks smooth. We just need to fix it a little bit. We'll grab this one, make it a little faster because we want to fix in between here. So we'll start at the first point of our frame here. We want to get to this position. Okay. Thinking about starting in reverse here. We'll grab this left arm, maybe put it down, maybe rotate it just a couple degrees, bring it up, bring it this way, bring it up. Okay. We're just working in reverse right now. So bring this out a little bit. Bring this out. Bring this out. Bring this out. Bring this out. All right, let's see how that looks. Doesn't look too bad. Looks pretty smooth. We just gotta figure out the point at which. Okay, so let's bring this one closer because our arm is going kind of a wild upward motion here. So we'll work in reverse, and we just gotta rotate it a little bit, just like that. That looks decent. That looks decent. 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 Let's come down. No, I don't want to update. And that just kind of messed me up. That's fine. Maybe like right here. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we might have fixed it. We're just going frame by frame. And back in our idle position. Let's see how that looks. All right, so where is it going up? Maybe this has got to come down a little bit. Let's see. Let's grab all these. Let's get these closer. It's way too fast. Okay, let's bring it here. Slow it down. Okay, so it is way too fast. All right, we got to think, where is it? Right there. That's a little bit more smoother. And it gives it some life a little bit. Now we could slow this down. We can grab all these. Grab all these so we can give some delay to it. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think we'll keep it. Like I said, really take your time. Have some fun with it. And really fine tune it. Now I'm gonna think on where I want my sound. So I'm thinking, just gotta make sure all the cues are looking good. That looks good. That looks good. So like right here, it's pretty much finished. So where do I want the sound? To happen? Maybe in this area? Maybe right here, we'll add our event. Random sound. And we'll call this engage pump. And we'll save. And we will set this to core, I believe. Or we can set it to action 2. We can always change it inside the script just in case we messed up somewhere. We'll call this pump. And we'll publish to Roblox. Save. And we are done with animations. So now there's a couple things we have to do. And it all happens inside this right now. Before I get out of this editor, I want to go through and put in some more animations. Now, we already have a reload animation. We're going to replace the reload animation. We are going to add a new animation. And we'll rename it to, what's the second one? Shell. Animation. And then we can rename this to pump. Just like that. And now we have our animations set up. We'll do the sounds at the end because I'm about to remember the names. Or we could just go through each animation, find the name of the event, and go from there. All right, so we are pretty much ready. Let's get out of the animation editor, and we can get rid of this. We don't need that. We can get rid of all of these. We don't need that. And so now we're gonna go inside our toolbox, find our creations, find my animations, and get all of those. So let's go into our animations folder, get these all ready. Let's find our reload and just copy and paste the IDs in the animation ID. So I'll be back in a second. All right, so we have our animations pasted in. So these are ready to go to be scripted in. Now we can actually test um, our animation. Not all of them, but the reload animation. So let's do that. Let's see how it all, the first part looks. So we have our shotgun. It doesn't look too bad. Perfect. Now it's time to start scripting. Now, let me explain the sound, like the random events or the random sound and the animation events, and why we're doing you know, adding a an event and make sure it's called random sound, then adding a parameter, blah 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 blah. So inside of replicated storage, we go inside utility. We have bind sounds to animation event. Now, if we go in it and we have just a quick read, it's only 26 or 27 lines, maybe a little less. We have our random sound event called random sound event called sound. And if we come down here, so we have animation get marker reached, and it looks for strings for a parameter. So when the animation reaches the marker, which is the animation event. It's going to get the random sound event, which is called random sound, and it's going to connect a function, and it's going to look for a parameter, which is a string, and that's why we named it. And it's going to go inside the folder, look for in the sounds folder, which if we go inside our starter pack, so it's going to find this folder, sounds, and then it's going to go into it, and then it's going to find the parameter, the string of what it's looking for. Now you can see that, Roblox has charger, equip, mag in, mag out. That's probably the strings that they are using inside their animations, which I can't seem to mess with their animations. So that's probably the strings that they're using. And so once it finds them, it plays the sound from the folder and the target, and that's how it's all working under the hood. Um, and then speaking of which, we can actually go even further and define it. And if we go inside our scripts folder and we go inside ViewModel Controller, and if we come down here, it calls the animation, finds all the animation tracks, load animation, etc., finds a name, and then it calls the bind sounds to animation event so that whenever the animation happens, it calls that module. So that's basically how it all works under the hood. And we're actually going to need, I didn't mean to close it out. We're going to need this view model controller here in a second. Um, Now, there's a couple things we have to script. We have to juggle a lot of scripts to make this work. And I have notes already because I've been trying to make this work for a couple weeks now. And I'm still not happy with my code. So, kind of a disclaimer, this is going to be like the first quotations generation of this code. So it may change in the future once I figure out better and more efficient solutions. But for now, I got it to work ish with the notes I have. So there's a couple things we have to do. We have to um like the other blasters, they have a magazine. So it's all one motion. So the animation is going to play no matter what, because it's one motion. So it doesn't have to like know, okay, um do all this. Being that we're using a shotgun and there's multiple moving parts, we can't just have everything happen all at once. So we have to have the ammo for the tool to go up one shell at a time, so that we could tell the second animation to loop, so it looks like it keeps playing and it's gonna go with the ammo going up. So that I made that sound a lot more complicated than what it really is. So basically, what we have to say, okay, and when it's a shotgun, reload ammo +1, and then take away our total ammo -1. It's a lot more simpler than you think. So, but we have to get it all working together for the animation. So the first thing we should do, just like of anything I ever say, is whatever. If we're gonna make big changes, we have to make another attribute. So we have shotgun, and if you've been following along, as you can guess, we're gonna make a new attribute. We're gonna call it SG. And just like the rocket launcher, where we made the rocket launcher, and if you haven't watched that video, I highly suggest it. And we're gonna make this a boolean. We're gonna save, and this attribute can be only for this shotgun. It doesn't have to be on any other um, tool. And we're just gonna make this set to true, and I think that's it. Now we're gonna mess with the other settings, so the shotgun has like pellets and stuff like that. But just for now, this is good. Trying to think. I think that's good. I think that's all we need. And now we need to go inside our constants here. And we're going to make a new constant. And we're going to make that equal SG. And now we can call it whenever we want. And now we need to think, okay, so now we need to fix our client side and server side. And I think as a start, we are going to fix our server side. So let's get out of here, and let's go inside our server script service. Inside Blaster, inside scripts, inside our Blaster script. And let's go down until we find our reload event. Validate reload on reload event right here. Yeah, okay, so basically this entire thing here is where we're going to be working. So there's a couple things we're going to need. We can keep that. We're going to say local is shotgun, and we're going to make that equal to blaster. We're going to get the attribute constants dot shotgun, our new attribute. And then we're also going to need our ammo attribute. So we're going to say local current ammo equals blaster get attribute constants dot ammo attribute, because that's going to be pretty important. So now we can come down here. We can say if is shotgun, then so the script knows that, okay, if it is the shotgun, if if whatever the blaster is and it has that attribute, it'll refer to this. We're going to say reload task equals task.spawn. We're going to spawn a function. We're going to create some space. And then we're going to say while current ammo. Then we're going to get our magazine size and max ammo is greater than 0. Then do, I should say. And then we're going to say current ammo equals current ammo plus 1. And then, as you can guess, we're going to say max ammo equals max ammo minus 1. And then we have to set the attribute. So we're going to say blaster set attribute constants dot ammo attribute to our current ammo. And then we do the same thing for our max ammo, which is total ammo. That's what it's called. And then we plug in our max ammo. And then we're going to add a task.wait. And we're going to plug in our reload time. And then we're going to say if blaster.parent doesn't equal character, then blaster because it's basically the same thing down here. This one. We can actually just copy and paste this over. Copy. Paste. And then we can add a return. And then at the end of this, we can say blaster set attribute constants dot reloading attribute, and we can say false. So we could say, because inside the tool, we have a boolean that checks reloading. Make sure that the tool is reloading. So we're just going to set that to false. And to include all this, we are going to take this out and we're just going to say else, and then we'll come down here and add an end. Oops, no, that's not what I wanted. We'll just clean this up. And that should work. We can actually test this out just to make sure. And we'll go inside our player. And we'll look at our here. It goes down. Let's see if it reloads one at a time on the server side. 8, 9. Okay, perfect. So it seems to be working. We didn't get any errors, so that's always a good sign. Excuse me, let me get a drink real quick. That's like I said, this is a long one, so it's gonna be a lot of talking for me, and I'm just not used to talking this much. All right, let's see. Now we have to go. I'm thinking before we do the client side, we should go to the view model side and be able to play like the other animations because all we have right now, if we go down, let's go inside the view model controller. If we go down, where is it? Play reload animation. So basically, this is just playing whatever the reload animation is, and that's about it. So it's not doing the other animations. And instead of including like the other animations inside the reload animation, I think I want to keep it separate. That might change in the future, so keep that in mind. But for right now, I think what we're going to do is just create a new function. We'll say function ViewModel controller play insert shell, and we'll say reload time :number. That should be, and then we got to call our new animation. So we'll say shell anim equals self dot animations dot shell. And why we're doing this, because we already have a self dot animations, and it's finding the track, and then it's finding the track name, which we replicate storage view models. So it's going to find this, and then it's going to find the name. We named it shell, so that's why I'm saying self.animations.shell. And now we can use it. Now I don't know what I want to do with the speed yet, but we'll just plug that in. Equals self.animations.shell dot length. Hopefully that's spelled correctly. And we're also going to need the pump animation. Pump anim equals self animations dot pump, and then say local pump speed equals self dot animations pump dot length. And now we can use all of these. We can just say shell anim :play. And just like above, we're going to add this reload fade time. So we're going to say constants dot view model fade time 1 : speed, comma speed, I should say. And then we could say if shell anim. Actually, we could say if self dot animations dot shell dot is playing, then we say self dot animations dot shell dot looped equals true. And then we can come down here. And then we could say if self dot blaster colon get attribute constants dot mo attribute equals self dot blaster get attribute constants dot magazine size, then we could say shell anim colon stop, and then we could say self dot animations dot shell looped equals false because we want to stop it. And then we could say pump anim colon play, and then we could say constants dot ViewModel fade time 1 colon pump speed. Okay, so that should work, hopefully. Anyways, now we can go inside our we can clean this up here. Clean this up. Go inside our replicated storage, inside Blaster, scripts, and we can go inside our final script, which is the Blaster controller. Now, I have to look into the character animation controller module, but I'm pretty sure that works for the third person animations. I'm not totally sure. I have to do more testing and stuff like that. But yeah, I think we can get it to work without messing with the character animation controller. So let's find our reload function, and basically the same thing as what we did in the on the server side, we have to do on the client side, and then call our animation. So let's get our shotgun. So we can say local shotgun equals self blaster colon get attribute constants dot shotgun. Then we can come down here and say if is shotgun, then add some space because we're gonna need it. We can grab these, paste these in. We'll actually do like this. We could say self. Actually, I'm sorry. Just find where it is. Or we could say self dot reloading equals true. It's gonna be a lot of the same thing. A lot of copy and paste from like down here. But we'll do it one by one. We can say self dot GY controller set reloading self dot reloading, and then we can fire server reload remote fire server self dot blaster. And then we can add a task dot wait reload time. And now we have to figure out for the bullet. So we're going to say for I equals 1. We're going to loop through it. This is going to work with our animation as well as inserting one shell at a time. So we're going to say bullets to reload. Do. Create some space here. We're going to add a check. If not self.reloading, then return end. Actually, we'll add a break instead of a return. And now we can call our animation. We can say self ViewModel controller. And then what do we name this? Copy this over. Paste. And then we can plug in our reload time because it's looking for a number. So we're going to pass the reload time, which is inside our tool, the reload time. I'll show here in a second because we might have to adjust it just to get everything to line up. We can add another task.wait, and we'll plug in our reload time. And then we can say self.ammo equals self.ammo plus 1. As you can guess, self.maxammo equals self.maxammo minus 1. And then we can tell our self.gycontroller set ammo self.ammo, and then gycontroller set max ammo self.ammo, and then we can say self or if self.ammo more equal to magazine size, then break end. And then we can come down here. Don't want that. We can say self.reloading equals false. Self.gycontroller set reloading. Then we can just say self.reloading, basically saying, okay, it's false, send it to the GUI controller. Now it's telling the GUI controller, okay, reloading is now false. And just like before, we can actually take this end out. And replace it with an else for the other blasters. And we can come down here and put it here. Just trying to think how I can clean this up. We can just, that should work. Sorry, I'm very meticulous. And it should be this one that connects. Yeah. And yep, that looks pretty clean. All right, so now we can test all this out and see if everything plays. Hopefully it just plays in one go. We don't have to do any modifications. So let's fire one bullet. Okay, that isn't too bad. Fire 2 bullets. This is gonna be like the make or break because now we have to loop the one animation. So let's see. Okay, so it doesn't look too bad. It might be a little too fast. Hang on. Let's do 4 bullets. Okay, so we're getting some stutter. So we might have to adjust it a little bit. And the way to do that, a good starting point is we'll clean this up because we don't need to mess with any scripts at the moment. And we'll go inside our starter pack. We'll go inside the shotgun. We'll go inside our attributes and find our reload time. Um, let's start it out with 1. Because if a lot of our animations are just 1 second, so maybe we speed it up, it'll be okay. Okay, so it did it 3 times, so it might have to be a little faster. Um, let's see. We go inside the ViewModel controller, and we might have to go inside our shell speed, and instead of, let's try dividing it by reload time. Maybe that should work. Okay, so it's only doing it twice. So let's try multiplying. Reload time. All right, so we're still. Let's get rid of this. Let's just start with. Let's go through the code. Hang on. Let me think about this. Let's take this out. We're just gonna comment it out. We're not gonna just like take it out. Maybe we should just let the animation play before we set it to false. That might work. Okay. Try that again. That actually worked out pretty well. All right, that was an easy fix. So let's go back and think about what we did. We went to the attribute. Um, we made the reload time a lot faster than 1.5, being that it's not one motion and a lot of our animations are just 1 second long. We tuned that down to 1 second, so there's no like the animation's not like stuttering, just trying to keep up, because it's longer. So we turned that down to 1 second, um, and then we are letting the animation play. We're not stopping it abruptly. So we're just going to keep this comment out just in case. And then we set it to false so it doesn't keep playing the animation over. And then we say, okay, now play the pump animation. Okay, so that actually worked out pretty well. And actually, I just want to go through it one more time. They look so good. 1, 2, 3. Now, the only problem I have is like the whole pump animation is not playing. But uh, do I want to mess with it? It'll be all right. It'll be all right. Okay, so now let's plug in our sound. Okay, so let's find our sounds. And we might as well find our view model. take it out. So we can go inside the animation editor. Let's find our shotgun. There we go. And we shall um hmm import from Roblox. Find our reload here. Pretty sure this is it. Okay, so now, and if we edit animation event, we have it called reload. So we have it called reload. So if we go inside our sounds here, now we could change the name, or we could just call it reload. Thinking, give me a second. Okay, so what we could do is just we'll rename mag out, and we're just gonna rename it to reload. I'm pretty sure that's what we have to do. We have to change the names, and let's just test it out just in case. View model, then play. Okay. So we're getting an error here. We might have to create a new folder. Rename this to reload. And we'll rename this to mag out. And then we'll duplicate it, put it inside the reload, name it reload, see if that works. I think it's looking for the folder. Yep. Okay, so we're getting that sound. And then we're going to need the sound for... So we might as well create a couple more folders. Okay. And then we can go... We'll duplicate these, put them in each one of the folders here. And then we can go find our shotgun. Back to the editor. And then, okay, so we did this one. We will import. We'll find our shell inject. Edit animation event. This is called inject. Okay. So we'll rename this folder to inject. We'll rename this to inject. And we'll cancel. And then we will find our last animation event. Engage pump. Engage pump. And this will be a good test if the names don't matter, so I'll just call this pump. And we will cancel, get out of the animation. editor here, and let's this put it back in our folder here, and we'll see if that sound, all the sounds play at each point of the animation. There's the sound. Okay, so it is playing. Let me check my OBS and make sure that you guys can hear it. Yeah, you should be able to hear it. Okay, so it seems like all the sounds are playing. Yeah. All right, so now what we can do is don't need this anymore. Now we just got to plug in the sounds. We just got to find sounds for each part of the animation. And that's as easy as finding going through, okay, we need a for a reload animation for when the pump and the shell pops out, and then we need a sound for putting the shells in, and then we need a sound for engaging the pump. So let me do that real quick. I'm gonna fast forward. All right, so I found some sounds for the inject, the pump, and the reload. So, um, yeah, so that should, let's test it out. We're almost done. All right, that looks. I mean, it could be better, especially on the pump side. Um, we might. I mean, we could try to fix that inside the script. Maybe add a wait. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. Wait, reload time, and play. It might need a second. I don't know. Actually, that kind of looks a little bit smoother. Yeah, that makes it a little better. Yeah. Simple fix. Add a little bit of a wait time so we can let the animation play out. Like I said, this is like the first iteration of this code. I might change it in the future, um, make it a little bit better, but it works. So can't complain there. If it works, don't if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as they say. I mean, what else do we got to do? All right, it's me from the future, and I created a better version of my code already. Um, during after recording, I did some testing and found out that there is a few bugs, and it all stems from unequipping during the reload animation phase, and that's kind of a problem because that's gonna happen. It's a pretty major bug. So what would happen is the view model would mess up, the shell would clip through the view model itself. Um, and then on the big major bug was the on the client side, ammo would say one thing, and then on the server side, it would say a totally different thing. So they would get out of sync very fast. And that is a big problem because down the line, the further that happens, especially like in game, you know, the server is gonna be like, okay, here's his ammo here, but on the client, he's like, I don't have any ammo. Why am I still shooting? So, or like the animation will just keep reloading because it thinks that there's zero bullets or whatever. It can get you know, um, it'll get messed up very fast if we don't fix that problem. So let me explain what I had to do for the The clipping was very easy. Hindsight is 2020. It took me a long time to figure it out, and it's something that I've been preaching for a long time, which is, you know, if my code doesn't work, start from square one, which is check your view model, make sure it's set up. Um, I say this because, well, that was the problem. I was going through all this code, and I was like, man, why isn't this working? Turns out is the way I set up the view model in comparison to the animation. What do I mean by this is when we made the animation, the first animation we did, I moved the bullet um, over so it could be in view of the player just a little bit, and but we didn't do it on for the view model. And here, let me give a better example here because that sounds confusing. So we have our view model. Now all I did was I just took the shell, I just moved it to the left a little bit, fixed it. It's so that it's when the animation stops, it goes back to its original place. It was just like merging two different positions of the shell. So that was the problem. So yeah, it was just me setting up the view model. That was the issue. Um, Now the other problem, which took a little bit, we had to basically rewrite all our code. So I will show everything I did. And the easiest to start with is the view model controller. Now, in the first part, like the first iteration of my code, I put a lot of responsibility in this play insert shell animation, um, where we had if ammo and magazine size are equal, then we play the pump animation. So I put a lot of responsibility inside one animation function. Like I said, hindsight is 2020. So what I did was took all that out. I gave it the only responsibility it has is just play the animation, and that's what we did. So basically, we just took everything out, and we basically it's basically just like this. If reload, stop the reload. Here's the speed. Here's the animation shell. Play it. Here's the pump animation. Stop the shell. Here's the speed. Play the pump animation. So I will give a second for you to uh, redo all the code I did if you were copying and following along. Basically, just copy this, pause the video, and we'll move on to the next script. Okay, so we're about to move on to the next script. Um, the next easiest one is the blaster on the server side. We didn't change that much. Um, we have a wait right here. If like before we get into the loop and the reload task, we added a wait, and then as soon as we get in the loop, the while loop, before it adds an ammo, takes away max ammo, we add a task wait reload time. I'm pretty sure that's all I did. Um, just in case, I will kind of slow down here so people can pause and make sure everything is the same. Okay, time for the final part, and that is the blaster controller. Now, the blaster controller we gutted. I gutted it, and yeah. So I'll go slow. What we did was we put everything inside a reload task. Now, why is this important? Well, if we scroll down and we find unequipped, we have if self.reload task, then task.cancel, reload task equals nil. This stops as this is Roblox comment here. It stops it from being reloaded. So that's why we're going to put everything inside the reload task so we can cancel it anytime we need. Okay, so basically this is the same. This is the same. This is the same. We have a wait right here before the loop. Let's scroll down. And then inside the loop, we have, I put in some checks. If not self-equipped or not self.reloading, then break the loop. If self.ammo is less than or equal to 0, then break end. And then we have our first new animation, play insert animation. And then we added a wait, wait, reload time, giving time for the reload animation to play. And then we added another break, another check, I should say. And then we have our standard. This time we went with self.ammo equals math.min. And then same thing, math.max, so that, there's no confusion. And then we just tell the GUI controller, set the ammo, set the max ammo. And then we added another check if self.ammo is greater than or equal to the magazine size, play our pump animation. That's not wait reload time, and then break out of the loop. And then everything else, this is for things that are not shotgun. We added the standard stuff here. We added some more checks to it just in case that, because I don't want to mess up the other the animations that already work and the blasters that already work, so I didn't want to mess those up. So we added some checks, and then at the end of this we have reloading false, false. Make sure the ammo set, max ammo, and then we make the reload task nil right at the end. So I will give a second for everyone to copy this. So I would suggest pausing the video right around here, and then we're going to come down to 216. Okay, here is the second half. And here is the end. Okay, so with all that, everything is bug free, hopefully. Now it's up to you guys to test everything out, and by the time this video comes out, everything should be uncopy locked for everyone to use and mess with, or do whatever with, really. Um, yeah, the shotgun took a lot of work. So, if you like the video, you like the content, we're almost at 100 subscribers. Let's get there. Let's push it. So, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And before we end things off, I do want to say, of course, thank you. Thank you everybody that's been supporting. Also, we made the shotgun an actual shotgun. What we what I did was, I changed the ammo to 8, magazine to 8. Um, changed the fire mode to semi. Now I have this insert time and pump time. I was messing around with the attributes, and because the animations are two different timings, I think it's the insert time that's a little bit different than 1 second. So I was kind of messing with that feature. I'm gonna keep this, and I'm gonna keep testing it and see if we can um put those in as well. If not, uh, if you don't have these attributes, don't worry about it. Everything's gonna work just fine, even if you don't have them. But anyways, we changed the rate per shot to 20, and we changed the spread to 10. And actually, I want to change this to 60. I think that's a good amount. And yeah, let's kind of show off everything. Yeah, so when we unequip before the reload actually happens, you will see that, we still have 1 out of 60. And if we find our player, find our tool, and it should say 1, and it should say 60. So everything is lined up, and I will show, and you will see that the GUI and the total ammo is pretty much lined up exactly. So yeah, that's all fixed. Now, we didn't do anything for the shoot animation or the sound. I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. Now that you guys know how to do the reload, which is arguably the hardest part. So figure out how to do the shoot. Making the shoot animations. Like the pump and the sounds. Sound events. You guys now know, if you watch this entire video, you now know how to do it from scratch and be able to implement it um very easily. So I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. That's why I didn't change it, and kind of just leave it open. So yeah, let's end this off, and like I said, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and catch you guys in the next one.